Well, my name is Philip Norman Wallace, and I'm from West Barnstable. Well, I have a lot of really good memories, but the best ones, I think, evolve around the holidays, particularly the 4th of July holiday. I like the patriotism. I like that sense of nationalism. We have a great parade. We have great parades in the town of Barnstable. BWB parade in Barnstable Village, the one here in Hyannis, and the others in Osterville or Centerville. It's really a town-wide event, and it's quite amazing. So I think this is some of my fondest memories, and particularly, you know, with the concert that happens in the green after the parade here. I really enjoy that. I graduated in 1974, and I graduated from a high school in Salt Lake City, Utah. And it wasn't like anything here, let me tell you. It was not a structured place. It was actually, if you think about it, there's still cowboys and not Indians. Well, there was a native tribe, the Ute tribe, that's there, but it was the Wild West. There wasn't a lot of parental oversight, and we did pretty much whatever we wanted. All my friends had dirt bikes, and we lived at the edge of the metropolitan area, and it was all like open land space south of us. So we rode our motorcycles, our dirt bikes all over this place, and we had just a great time. And we did hang gliding, skiing, of course. It was a lot of fun there, and I think we were allowed to do a lot of things that kids in high school aren't really allowed to do anymore, or have the opportunity for it either. Well, my first job in the town of Barnstable, I was a regional manager for Jean-Claude Boisset. And my boss was Jean-Claude Boisset. Well, he was obviously the president of the company. He's the largest Burgundy negociant, and he was based near the town of Beaune in the southern part of Burgundy. And I covered an area from Maine down to Virginia. And that's what brought me here from Chicago. My wife's family had migrated here from Dover, Mass. And my family originally came here as the original members of my family that showed up here were part of the Coast Guard based at Otis. And my mother migrated here with a sister. My brother was in the military. When he finished his term in the military, he finished his education and moved nearby, and I could live anywhere on the East Coast I wanted to. So we figured, well, her family was on the Cape, my family was on the Cape, we should just move to the Cape. So we did. And she was a flight attendant for 38 years, and she flew out of Boston. And so she commuted up there, and sometimes we'd commute together. It worked out pretty well. And that's how I ended up here. Well, I like being a member of the town council. It's quite a privilege. It's an honor. I like working with my town councilors. I see things as the town moves forward. I think with the strategic plan that we just updated a couple of months ago, I see the town really moving forward in a very streamlined way. I think with the new administration we have here, the town is going to find itself in a very good place for the foreseeable future. Well, I like the holidays, and I like the beaches, and I like the people. I think the people are probably the one thing that I like best They're really great people that live in this town. And what I really like about that is they take ownership of it. They own their properties. I have a very, particularly in my precinct, and maybe I'm bragging, but I think maybe more so than other precincts, I have such a diverse group of individuals that live in West Barnstable. I have everything from, like horse trainers and farriers to rocket scientists and everything in between. I have professional athletes that live in there. I have every type of tradesman, almost every administrative type of individual. I have people that work for the town that live in my precinct. And so my precinct is very diverse and I think kind of intellectual, and that's what's nice for me as a town councilor is I can draw off of this brain trust that I have literally in my own backyard, and I use it too. And I know most of my constituents, and I like that. So I'd say the people are probably the best thing about Barnstable. Well, our financial situation is probably our greatest strength. We have a AAA bond rating. We have a terrific financial director in Mark Milne. I'm sure he's going to keep us on track. The town realizes that this is our greatest asset. I mean, we float a bond. The rates that we're paying is so small these days that by the time we get done paying it back, it appears as though the money is going to be less than what we borrowed, and we actually made money over the time. So it's really an amazing financial situation that we're in. I think that's a great strength. Obviously, just the topography, having, with number one reason people come to the Cape is for the beaches, and we have a lot of coastline here in the town of Barnstable. As you know, it's a really large geographic town. I mean, the upland alone is over, 54 square miles. And I think if you put it all together, it might be over 70 square miles with the wetlands and the ponds and the lakes and everything. It's huge. We have the 4th largest road miles in the Commonwealth. This is one really large town. And, I grew up in a town that had the same number of people as this town, and it was 11 square miles. So it's a lot different life. It's a wonderful life here. We're very lucky to be here. Well, I like all the seasons on the Cape except for the winter, because the winter is not that good for me here. It's kind of useless. I'm not I don't play hockey. I'm a skier, and there's no skiing here, although I'd like to change that. And I can tell you a little story if you don't mind. I went to a place called Bartlett, Illinois, and in Illinois they have no mountains, and they have a ski area there. And it's a country club owned by the town of Bartlett, and they have a ski area, and the ski area has been operating and making millions of dollars for this town since the 1960s, and I'd like to build one of those here so I could use winter on the Cape, and that would improve my feelings about Cape Cod in the winter. Now, of course, the summer is wonderful, and the activities and everything's alive, and the spring and the fall are very nice, but I think that one period of time between Labor Day and Columbus Day, when many of the tourists have gone, the kids are back in school, I think this is the time that I like best. It's affordable and accessible, and it's really probably my favorite period of time on the Cape during the year. Yeah, there's a place in my precinct in West Barnstable called Point Hill. And it's in that kind of strange, it's a little strange, not strange, but it's an unusual enclave in the fact that you can't drive to it from any place inside the town of Barnstable. You have to go into East Sandwich and then come back up Sandy Neck Beach Road to get to it. And it sits on a bluff or a cliff, and it overlooks the Great Marsh and Sandy Neck, and on a clear day you can see all the way down well, probably to the Bass River Rod and Gun Club, roughly. I mean, it's a long way. It's probably 7 or 8 miles of distant views. And it's different all the time depending on how the tide is. The other day we had a super moon and the tides were super high. So I went there to take a look at what it looked like and to look at the Great Marsh being completely submerged in water and only Sandy Neck sticking out into it was a very strange view, but different from any other time I'd ever been there. But that's my favorite place to enjoy, I think, the view and the scenery. Yeah. Well, wastewater, and this is the 900-pound gorilla in the room. It's expensive. I think the 208 plan is roughly $3.2 billion, maybe $3.5 billion. And whatever portion of that the town of Barnstable is going to be saddled with is going to be difficult. I think it's a matter of paying for it over the longest period of time you can, using non-traditional methods, oystering, for instance, dredging, rather than sewering. I know we'll sewer when we have to, but the idea is if you don't have to do it, don't do it. And so keep the price down as low as you can and pay for it over the longest period of time as you can so it has the smallest impact on our annual budgets. Well, I think some of the rules and regulations and some of the bureaucratic things that happen at 200 Main Street, I'd like to see those streamlined and made easier for people. I think there's an opportunity for us to create new growth dollars, but sometimes we've made it so difficult for people to move new construction and new businesses forward, they haven't done it. And that's cost us. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that streamlined. And I think that's one of the, probably the foremost thing that I'd like to see changed. I think that there may need to be some zoning changes that need to happen so that we can focus growth in certain areas within the town of Barnstable and also inside of this village of Hyannis too. I think that needs to be done. And I think we should work with the Cape Cod Commission to realize a real plan for that. Well, anytime there's a change of administration, that's extremely exciting because philosophies can change and motivations change and directions change. So I think now we have a new town manager, and it's early on still, but he's doing an excellent job. I think that change of administration was extremely exciting, not only for me, but for the entire town. And we'll see. I think it's important to realize that the way that the town is structured is that the constituents are the ultimate boss here. I'm only a representative of them. I'm their voice, I'm their advocate, and I need to advocate their position to the town manager and to my fellow town councilors, so they understand, and they'll do the same thing with me. And and through the strategic plan, that's the voice of the constituents coming to the town council, creating a plan, giving it to the town manager and saying, execute this. We're going to tell him how to spend the money, and then he's got to go do it. And I think now, more than ever, the constituents in the town have the largest voice they've had. So I think that's pretty exciting. Well, I ski is my best sport, and I play golf. That's next to hockey is probably my worst sport. I enjoy the beaches. I enjoy the restaurants and the food in the town. I'm in the wine business, so I'm in the somehow not directly related to the hospitality industry, but an appendage to it, if you will. And I enjoy all that, the social aspect of this town. I enjoy that a lot. My name is Philip Norman Wallace, and I live in West Barnstable.